back, boys and girls. I'm just so glad to be back together with you, and it's hard to believe this is our last day together. I've really enjoyed sharing God's amazing handiwork with you this week. I'm wondering if anyone talked to a friend or family member about the sand dollar you learned about yesterday. Anybody? If you like, you may pause this video for a moment and tell your friend who you talked to about the sand dollar and what you said. I'm so proud of you, boys and girls. Remember, the first angel's message tells us to worship God. Why? Because he made the heaven and the earth. And remember, it's just like the Sabbath commandment. He made the heaven, the earth, the seas, the springs of water, and all that in them is. He's our creator. And that's why we honor him on the seventh-day Sabbath. And that's why we should remember to share the good news with our friends. Today, we're going to talk about a creature that has something very, very interesting about him. In fact, part of this creature is worth a lot of money because it's very helpful to humans. But before I tell you more about this guy, I want to tell you something that's just a little sad. You know, God made this beautiful world of ours, but sometimes we as humans don't really take care of it like we should. Do you remember my favorite animal? That's right, the giraffe. You used to be able to go to Africa and you could see 20 or 30 giraffes in a herd. Now, if you see a herd of giraffes, there are 6 or even fewer. Do you remember what they love to eat? The acacia tree, right? Well, that's being cut down to make roads. If the trees are cut down, what can the giraffes eat? And also, even though it's against the law to kill giraffes, there are hunters who kill them. So we have less. And do you remember those beautiful sand dollars we learned about yesterday? Their numbers are going down too. Sometimes when fishermen in big boats go trawling with their fishing lines and nets dragging along the bottom, sometimes they destroy the sand dollars on the ocean floor. And did you know that some of the animals God created have already disappeared from our planet forever? Like the eastern cougar. He's gone, extinct. No one will ever see him again. And the paradise bird-winged butterfly, extinct, gone from the planet forever. You can never see one. Other animals are very close to becoming extinct, like this beautiful Amur leopard, and this special kind of lemur, and this blue and black dart frog. There's only a few left. They won't be around for long. It's very sad, isn't it? When God made our wonderful planet, he worked everything out just right. And when you don't take care of what he gave us, you not only upset one thing, but you upset the whole balance of nature. You cut down an acacia tree, you're not just cutting down a tree, you're losing giraffes. The creature we're going to talk about today has something that's very, very valuable, something that people want. But if we're not careful and we lose him, we're also going to lose some other beautiful animals that totally depend on him. I'm wondering if you have any guesses about what I'm going to talk about today. If you'd like, you can pause this video and talk about what you think we might be featuring today as our special part of God's handiwork. I'm guessing you didn't predict what I'll be talking about. I bet your teacher didn't even predict it. It's actually a kind of sea creature. And it's something that I used to find on the beach when I was a little girl in Connecticut, and I've seen some down here in Florida too. It comes in all sizes. It can be very, very large, or it can be very, very small. Are you ready to take a look? Here it is. Okay, I actually have one right here on my lap, and I'm going to show you this one. Have you ever seen one of these? It's actually a horseshoe crab. And it's really not a crab at all. Scientists put it in the same category as spiders. Here's one that we put on a little board here to try to preserve it. Can you believe that the horseshoe crab actually has 9 eyes? But that's not the special thing we're going to be talking about. What do you think the horseshoe crab has that is so valuable? Do you have a guess? Once again, I'm pretty sure you didn't guess it. Nope, it's not the long tail that you sometimes see sticking out of the sand. It's actually his blood. That's right, his blood. Scientists have studied horseshoe crabs and they found out that their blood makes something very interesting. And guess what? Do you think their blood is red? No. Their blood is blue, baby blue. How much do you think their blood might be worth? Any ideas how much their blood might be worth? 1 quart of horseshoe crab blood is worth $15,000. Why? Because God made the horseshoe crab's blood to be his superpower. His blue blood can find any bacteria around. Now, do you know what bacteria is? Kind of like germs, you know, those tiny things that you can't even see, but they can make you sick. Well, the horseshoe crab blood can tell if there's even the tiniest bit of bacteria around, and it sends out its own protective shield. The blood forms this gel, and nothing can get through it. So the horseshoe crab's blue blood is his superpower. Now, that's pretty useful, especially in hospitals. If somebody's going to have an operation, you have to be sure there's no bacteria anywhere. If you're putting in a pacemaker, well, you can't have bacteria. So that horseshoe crab blood, part of that is taken out, and that is used in hospitals all the time. Every year, scientists capture 500,000 horseshoe crabs from the Atlantic Ocean. They put a needle in them right near their hearts, and they take out some of their blood. Did you know that in the United States of America, every single person who's ever had a shot has been protected from bacteria by, you guessed it, a horseshoe crab's blood? God is just so amazing. He's just created so many incredible things that we couldn't even imagine, let alone invent these things. Now, I do want to tell you that scientists try to be very, very careful when they take the blood, and they do throw the horseshoe crabs back into the ocean. They don't hurt them. But some of them still don't make it when they get back into the ocean. That's something to be a little worried about. Because if too many horseshoe crabs are taken out of the ocean and they don't make it, that not only means we're in danger of losing horseshoe crabs, but we're in danger of losing some of God's other amazing creatures too. Remember, balance of nature. You call it a balance of nature. Let me tell you about a few other creatures we have to worry about now if we have to worry about the horseshoe crabs. In the Delaware Bay, where the horseshoe crabs are being harvested and where they don't quite all survive when they throw them back, there are some other creatures that are counting on them. Striped bass. You see this striped bass? Maybe some of you are fishermen. Flounder. The numbers of striped bass and flounder have gone way, way down in Delaware Bay because they depend on the horseshoe crab eggs. And how about this? The diamondback terrapin. He also feasts on the horseshoe crab eggs. And he was already on the list of animals that we're in danger of losing. So we're worried about him. And just one more. And this is a beautiful bird that is totally in trouble now because she's really dependent on the horseshoe crab. This bird is called the red knot, and it's an amazing bird. God has designed her so she flies 9,000 miles, all the way from Chile in South America up to the Arctic Circle. But how does she fly 9,000 miles? She stops in the Delaware Bay for 2 weeks. She feasts on these horseshoe crab eggs, and that gives her strength. She actually doubles her weight, and then she can make it all the way to the Arctic Circle. Now the number of horseshoe crabs is going down. That means the number of red knots is going down. And even her friend, the ruddy turnstone, is starting to be affected too because the ruddy turnstone likes the horseshoe crab eggs. So it's a sad thing, isn't it? It's amazing that God gave us these beautiful animals and we need to try to take care of them. And remember, Revelation tells us to worship God because He's our creator and He made all these beautiful things. And at the end of the 3 angels' messages, it tells us that we need to be patient and have faith and that Jesus is coming again. I believe that when Jesus comes again and takes us to heaven, we're going to be able to see all of His beautiful nature and probably even more creatures that He created. So I want you to always remember the 3 angels' messages, remember the beautiful creatures. And let's take a minute now to draw one last time, and then I'll have a few more words for you to end. But let's take our little oath now. You ready? Because if we're going to draw, we have to promise. I will not compare my work with others. I will not compare my work with others. I will have fun. I will have fun. I will not get frustrated. I will not get frustrated. I can always practice again later. I can always practice again later. Okay, enjoy drawing, and then we'll wrap up our week of prayer. Okay, I am going to start to the right side of the page, a little right of center. Why do you think I'm doing that? Because I want to make sure I have plenty of room for the tail. Now the helmet shape is really not too hard. You notice I'm going in and out a little bit, kind of making where those claws are. And I'm going to make a little claw over here. And then I think, maybe next I am going to go up to the top part here and kind of start to make a little bit of a dotted line. Remember, down the middle, I just kind of want that for reference. Now I'm going to make another claw, fill in my claw nice and dark here. And remember, at the end, we'll keep going and fix it up. Now down at the bottom, remember how it kind of goes in and out, kind of jagged down here. So I'm making kind of a jagged bottom, then up. Remember how there's a little split there because that's where we're going to put the tail. So you got to come up there and then back down. Okay, and then jagged again, in and out, in and out, in and out. So now we have our very basic shape here of the helmet, putting in our tail, and you're going to be surprised. It's going to come along as we add in our details. So now remember, we had a little bit of a section here in the middle, and remember how some of it kind of sticks up to a point. So we want to make that a little jagged there, coming down the middle here. It's kind of crossing over that other middle section. One is going in one direction and one the other. I'm going to come over and make a little claw here, kind of a part that sticks up. I don't know that it's a claw, but remember how the shell had these little pieces that kind of stuck up. And I'm going to make a few more here. Remember, there were these kind of jagged areas on the outside of the shell, so we want to make sure that we indicate those. So this is just all going to be about putting in a little detail now. It's really not too hard to make this horseshoe crab. We've got to think a little bit about shading. Remember, we want to make it 3D, so I'm going to put some shading under the tail area, so that will make that pop a little bit. And I'm going to make some little lines, again, just adding in our details now, little lines on the tail. Look at yours. Where do you think you can add some detail so that you can make this look a little more like the real one? And that's what I do. I look back and forth at the picture. I look at the picture, I look at mine. I look at the picture, I look at mine, and I think, what else can I put on this so that it will begin to look like the one that I'm looking at? So take a look at yours. Now let's see, can we put in a little shading? And again, do you think I'm going to make it all one color? Are you surprised that I'm putting gray in here? Do you think, wow, I didn't think a horseshoe crab was gray? Well, that's because in my palette, I don't have a lot of choices. I have gray, I have an orangey color, I have a yellow color, kind of a brownish color, a reddish color. You probably know my palette by now. So I'm just putting this in because if I start with kind of this grayish from what I have in my palette, it may help add a little shape, so I'm kind of putting a little bit around the edges here. Now if I had crayons or colored pencils, I could do a lot nicer job, but this is what I have, so this is what I'm using. So I'm just kind of trying to fill in a little bit with some of this gray, and then I'm going to drop in some other colors. So take a look at what you have, and remember, you don't want to color the whole thing one color. You kind of want to look at it and say, what other colors will help to give this some shape? So I'm going to put a little gray in on the tail, and with my palette I can make things wide or narrow, you know, my tip. So this is going a little bit over the lines, but that's okay. Again, when you make something, you just want to kind of do the best you can. So I'm going to choose another color now, and with my palette I can almost go on top of the first one. So I'm going to add this brownish color in, and I actually think mine is starting to look a little 3D, a little shape, but I'm going to drop in this brown, and I can kind of go a little over the gray, and it doesn't look too bad. Now I'm going to add in the orangey color. I think now it's starting to really look like the horseshoe crab. I like this orangey color. I think this looks kind of nice. And I'm using my orange highlighter. Oh, it's kind of shaping up, isn't it? I hope yours is shaping up, but remember, don't get frustrated. Now let's see, what else can I do to make this look just a little bit better? Remember, at the end, you're looking for details, you're trying to decide. You just stand back and you think, what can I do? I think I'm going to add a little reddish. So remember, these are just the colors I have in my palette, and you've seen these colors before, so I just want to put a little kind of an accent. So I'm putting this little kind of a reddish color around the sides, doing the best I can here to kind of just give it a little, what I call, definition. So I'm just kind of dropping that reddish color in, standing back, looking at it, thinking, is there anything else I can do that will make this look a little more like a horseshoe crab? So I'm looking back at my picture of the horseshoe crab, looking back at my actual horseshoe crab, and I'm thinking, what can I do? Is there anything else, or am I finished now? That's what you need to do. Look at your pictures now and think about the picture you saw of the horseshoe crab. Is there anything else you want to do? I'm going to just give it a little more definition here by going back to my middle line and kind of darkening up those jagged areas that come in and out. And I'm taking my brown thin pencil and doing that. You can always use what you call mixed media, so that means you use kind of a marker and some highlighters. So I just darkened that up, and I think I'm about done. I think I'm about finished. So I hope you enjoyed this drawing, and this is the last one. Boys and girls, this has been a fantastic week. It's my prayer that God will bless you and keep you in His wonderful grace. Remember to just notice His incredible creation all around you. Remember to always enjoy the seventh-day Sabbath and to share the good news of His love with everyone you meet.